Hey everyone, it's Theo from Spectrum Gardening. So today I'm with Amanda. She's the agriculture coordinator with LEPS, and we're at the learning farm in Langley, and I'll let her tell you a little bit more what she does exactly here and what the learning farm is all about.
Hey everyone, like Theo said, my name is Amanda, and I do work for LEPS in agriculture, so anything stemming from that with, in terms of education and outreach is what we do here. So it's a learning farm, pretty much based for high school students through environmental science and foods classes, as well as elementary schools for their curriculum and also outdoor activities. And we also feature a lot of adult workshops, like simple seed saving workshops we also do here, and drought tolerant plantings, to which we're going to show you today.
Seems like you guys do a lot of stuff here.
We do, and it's kind of nice when people from the public can kind of walk and have a look and ask questions. It's actually a really great thing because people learn a lot.
So when you say people from the public, so anyone can just come to this farm and have a look around?
Yes.
And,
yeah, it's we do have some fencing, but it's not fully gated, and we even have some people here strolling and walking and having a look at some of the things that are growing and trying to identify with their kids what is growing, which is one of the greatest things.
Let's go take a look. And let's learn about all her soil building, and let's learn a little bit more of what she's actually growing on the farm this year.
Okay, so a big part of the learning farm here is that soil is most important. So we do no-till farming, which means we are not bringing out our rototillers and digging into the soil. So we're trying to have a really good soil basis, and we actually make our own soil. We start out with a little bit of topsoil, to be granted, but we also add a lot of amendments. So with the no-till farming, we go in first with a layer of cardboard down on top of the grass. Then we get that layer of topsoil. Then we put in manure. And then you'll also see in this bed, which isn't totally fully finished yet, but we've got coffee grounds just from your local, from our local Starbucks, and as much carbon. So when we say carbon, dry, whether it be leaves, newspaper, and in some cases coffee filters. So all of that goes in there, and you'll see actually some of this, it looks kind of like straw. There's something to be said if you've ever heard about garlic mulch, very important for adding back to your beds, and that's the kind of stuff that you cut off, like the hardneck garlic. And once we actually do that, we'll put a layer of newspaper and then the manure to which you see over here. So if I was to dig down here, I get to see some of that newspaper, and that's really to do a bit of weed suppression. So my next plantings in this, which will be not until next April, will be able to decompose, and I'll get a lot of worms attracted into this. So this is another bed that we're kind of digging in. This one is set for winter because it has the manure on top. But you can see the soil that's underneath, which is a different color. That would have been the soil that we were growing in for the springtime. And after that, we weeded it. We put on top of our newspaper and our coffee grounds, and then we filled it up again on top with manure. Okay, so how we've kind of done this is we've dug a little bit into one of the rows that are kind of in progress, putting to bed for the winter. But digging down, you can kind of see some of the layers that we've had. So some of the topsoil, some of the original soil that's in there, and you can see just how much we've mixed it. So we're not fully mixing. We don't turn. We like to build layers and have that kind of decompose. And again, a lot of this stuff will kind of work its way in, as you kind of know, through rates of decomposition. But you can kind of see that's kind of really the deep down when you dig into one of the rows what they look like.
So Amanda, you've talked quite a bit about no-till here and the layers that you're putting down. I don't do quite the same at my place, but I do something very similar. I'm not tilling it in each year. When I do add more compost or more manure, I just let it sit on top. I might rake it a little bit, but other than that, I don't touch it. So what are some benefits of no-till versus tilling each year?
Well, I think tilling each year, so there's so many benefits to it, and the one thing I know that every gardener will actually understand is weed seeds flying in the air, and weed seeds travel faster than what you want them to do. So the constant layering is a way of suppressing some of those weed seeds from actually germinating, and you have better control over your bed and the contents inside it. Another reason too is that no-till farming is actually really cheap.
Yes, and it's very easy to do. It's not so much work.
So either you're going to be renting a rototiller, or you go to the expense of buying one, or you're doing that physical manpower of always having to work in your stuff. But in this way, like coffee grounds from a coffee shop, cardboard, newspaper, these are all free items that decompose. They are just a natural piece of our everyday lifestyle, and you can put into your garden and make some really great soil.
And you just layer it and you let Mother Nature take its course.
And even sometimes, like with all my rhubarb leaves, I actually use that as another layer too.
Yeah, as you might be able to see behind us over there.
Yeah, I like to add some green manure back in.
So yeah, if you are thinking about starting a garden or if you're thinking about no-till, I would highly recommend you research it, because myself, I like it because it's a lot less work and it's a lot less issue with weeds and things like that. It's just so easy. You just plop things down. You might do a little raking here and there. You might do a little weeding, but other than that, it just runs its course by itself.
So much easier to maintain.
So Amanda, we're in your raspberry patch. Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on here and what you're doing with them?
Yeah, so again, going on with that whole no-till and layering, raspberries, as you know, are you can never sort of, they just go and run away with you. But you can even see, and maybe a different angle, what we'll do is we actually have them planted in 1 gallon pots, so I can control the root system a little bit better, so they don't just take over. But also how they're planted, it looks neat because we layer down our cardboard first and we just put wood chips on top. So aesthetically it's clean, it's neat, it's a way of managing weeds, and yeah,
nice and easy.
Pollinators can find the flowers faster.
Yeah, we'll do a little close-up of the 1 gallon so people can see.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's a really easy way to do things. So how often have you watered these raspberry plants this year?
Oh, I have not watered them at all. So you have to kind of keep in mind where we are. We're actually on a little bit of a floodplain. So let's say the heavy rains that we got, I never had to water. And when you're using mulch or wood chips and cardboard, it actually pulls in moisture. So today is August 31st, and I have not watered these raspberries once this year.
This year, wow. And how deep is the mulch that you have then?
Really, it's really only about maybe about 1 inch. So this is kind of like the back end of the field of what we have here, and this one was the first field that we put in place when we first started 3 years ago. So we've got a lot of soil bed amendment. You can kind of see in the distance. Further down is more or less where we have our herbs. And we've got our strawberry row and our beet row, and we're also doing a little bit of seed seeding with carrots that you see here. Yeah, so at the Derek Doubly Arboretum, we've got definitely the learning farm is the major piece that we're seeing today, but actually in the distance is the Derek Doubly Community Garden. So people can't rent space at the learning farm to grow their own food, but they can back in the community garden. So you can see some beans and some sunflowers in the distance, and it's a really great community. And at the Derek Doubly Arboretum, this is part of the agricultural land reserve. So this is kind of the nod at the township of Langley, and it's a really much a very agriculturally focused municipality.
So Amanda, we're standing under, what would you call this?
So it's a trellis that we have here, and we like to change up every year what we have growing with it. But it actually is kind of a nice aesthetic here for, really the park itself, so people can just walk underneath it. And people can get some idea about what they can grow on a trellis. So obviously beans is something that's quite common.
We're at the entrance of your greenhouse right now. So can you tell us what the plan was originally with it, and then also in what reality happened with it?
Oh, I think that any gardener, when they go into the start of the season, they always have firm plans about what they want to do. But we have quite a large greenhouse, and we actually did plant quite a few tomatoes, but we did them really early. That's the benefit of actually having a greenhouse.
Yes, it is.
So we started doing our tomatoes in the ground here in March. And
that is very early.
Yeah, but we had a full, kind of yield from it, and we just pulled the last of the green tomatoes out. They're going to be ripening somewhere else. But we figured that the plants that we had left over that we didn't plant outside, we would throw in the ground now, just kind of utilize the space. So you're seeing behind me just a sea of squash plants and also cucumber plants.
Let's go take a closer look and just see how big this jungle really is.
It's a bit of a jungle. And another thing too is within this greenhouse, we still did mulch to keep the weeds down. You'll see actually some fly traps there. So we had quite the, I'm sure that everybody could appreciate quite the mosquito season this year. So we actually caught a lot of mosquitoes actually on these fly traps. But
I'm sure your farm workers were very thankful about that.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we actually, you can't quite see it because we haven't quite watered in here yet for today. But we, this is where the tomatoes were, and we pulled them out and we put in some crops in here for the winter time. So I think that that's safe to say that that's probably some sort of spinach or lettuce, and then I've got some peas here, and I think that we have something else back there. So we're just trying to make sure that we utilize our greenhouse majority of the year as much as we can.
Of course.
Yeah, and then we'll have some kind of plethora.
Some kind of something.
Cucumbers in here, so we'll make sure that I'm starting just now to get some powdery mildew, so I've got at least another 2 weeks in here before I can pull out the plants and do all the harvest.
So is there a reason why you didn't try and trellis them up vertically versus just letting them sprawl?
Sometimes it's time.
Yes.
And especially in a greenhouse when it's 35 degrees outside, it actually is warmer inside. So at the time where I could have trellised, it was just too hot in here.
Yeah.
So I just figured I would let them just take over.
That's fair enough, because it is quite a bit of a jungle in here. And I have to say that harvesting is going to be quite interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's why I get those students back again, and then they can do it.
Ah, yes. Fair enough.
Yeah. So, what I really like is that sometimes, because the public, we don't have locks on the greenhouse doors, so the public can actually have a sneak peek in here, and then they can get a little bit of a surprise too. They can see how squash actually grows.
And when the people come in and take a look at stuff, are they allowed to pick a little bit, or?
No, we have little signs around here saying, please do not pick. This food gets donated to food banks, so there is a kind of an understanding about what we do here.
Okay.
And when they see hard students working away, they kind of know that this is a space where they need to respect as a community, and I haven't had any problems.
Wow, that's really good, because I've heard quite a few issues with community gardens with people stealing out of them. Even when people will even steal produce and plants out of other people's yards.
Yeah, I don't seem to have that problem here, and I think the thing is because I constantly have programs happening here, and even in the winter.
Ah, okay.
So that's kind of key. The more you use community gardens, the more they're there, and that's the one takeaway I can give to people who have community gardens, is that you need to be at your garden more often, simply even just enjoying it if you don't have any work to do. But just a simple presence consistently.
Thanks for watching. If you did like this video, give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or comments about what I showed you or what Amanda was talking about, throw them down in the section down below in the comment section, and I will answer them to the best I can. If you did enjoy watching this video, or if you know someone that would enjoy watching it and having tours of gardens or farms, hit that subscribe button and share our video with them. Because right now we're in the tail end of August, beginning of September, and in our climate, that's when the most harvest happens in our gardens and farms. That's when they're most productive. So now is the time that they're looking the best and producing the most.